All right, so I did want to give a little bit of a, not an update necessarily, but just a little more insight onto the layout in general. The layout starts in that corner over there, and it extends 20 feet board length down to that back corner over there. And then there's two helixes, obviously one on each side. So it gives me a area here that's, eight or so feet, probably about 9 feet uh, of actual what I'm going to have as town or whatever before the hills go up to the helixes. So you have 20 feet of width, and then from back there to this part is, I believe it's right at 7 feet. I think it's an inch short of 7 feet. A lot of reasons for that, but I won't go into all that. But then I designed the width of this pull out section from here to here. I believe that's 6 feet. So that allowed me enough room to put a helix with some pretty good radius on the curves. Obviously, it's not what everybody would love to have, but it's, I believe their radiuses on the inner track are a little over 24-inch radius, and on the outer track, I believe it's like 27, just over 27-inch radius, and that's on both helixes. And then as well allowed me enough room to put an outside track that curves around the back side of the layout. And I've mentioned in the past that this is a pull-out section. So why is it a pull-out section? And am I happy with that decision? It was a pull-out section as a negotiation for another use that was going to be in this basement that never really came to fruition, and it was kind of a way to get a little more space for the layout over the objections of my wife, and allow me a little flexibility here to make it bigger by having these pull-away sections that I could hide away if I ever needed to. That's probably happened about twice, and luckily at this point they don't ever become detached. But I can do that, and I'm going to show you the detachment. So first of all, I have all my wires here coming through here. I have a speaker running through there too, because I have a stereo system set up underneath the train bench, so that this one right here is actually a speaker wire, but all this is harnessed together for all the wires, AR1, auto reverser, as well as the feeds for the this side of the helix. And then underneath, I have these that I can detach it with. It kind of locks it in place. So there's two of them, one on each side. Let me get the other one. And with everything detached now, this piece of track here, I've tried many times to cut this piece of track at this angle, and it just never worked out quite as well as I would like. I always had issues with the board separation right here. This one over here I don't have any issues with. As you can see, there's screws down there that this was soldered to, and these joints don't move, and they're actually really good. No rail joiner even in there. But this one I wasn't lucky with. After many attempts, I just made it. It's just a detachable piece of track, so I can move it out of the way when I need to pull the board out. So basically, just detaches, as you can see. This one here is also not soldered down anywhere. It just is a plastic rail joiner there. And then I go on the other side and I pull from the center, and it will become detached. So would I do this if I didn't have to? Obviously not. I would much rather have a solid helix where I didn't have to worry about these joints. But what's interesting about these joints is I kind of like them for the clickety-clack reason that when the train moves across it, it's a real good clickety-clack sound. Some of them are louder than others just because of the little bit of a wider gap. But if all these joints were soldered down to screws so they don't move, even in weather conditions, they've been like this for many, many years and not moved, which is refreshing, because I've watched a lot of videos on coming up with ideas on how to do this, and weather and humidity and temperature changes can wreak havoc on fine-tuned track laying like this. And I've been very I wouldn't say that it's been perfect, but I think it's gone very well. And I don't really have to worry about derailments or any other issues on these joints. They work. They just work. So you can get a little closer in there, see how that joint was put down there. It's not the best solder job, trust me. I was learning as I went. Now, so this was the first helix I did, and learned a lot about the next helix when I did this helix. And as you'll see, even down here, the track that runs on the ground, that one is also the same way. And then, as I mentioned in the last video, I have the hole here, which I'll probably make a little bit bigger at some point, but it's big enough to come up through if I ever need to permanently attach the helix. I certainly can do so. So you'll see all these joints in this helix, could potentially cause a lot of problems if you don't manage it well and if you don't pay attention to all the little intricate details there. This one piece right here, this track, does have rail joiners on it. I just tried something a little bit different there. Whenever I put this turnout here, I didn't solder it down because I'm skeptical about doing that to turnouts, and allowed me to put a rail joiner in there. I cut the rail joiner down a little bit. So this one is the only one that actually has a rail joiner. But whenever you put the track back together in the helix, that's a pain in the butt. So another thing I did when I put the helixes in, I use these dowel rods that insert into holes across the way, just to make sure that everything lines up right. So whenever I do line it up, if I had somebody else holding the camera here, I'd show you the process of doing it. But it's really not that bad, and I can get it back together and everything is pretty much in place within a minute or so. So it's not a big deal. And this is on rollers, as is the whole layout at this point on casters. And it's been that way for a long time to allow me to move it in and out away from the wall. Okay, so I'm not sure how long exactly that took me. Let's say about 1 minute and 30 seconds or so. Put everything back into place. Train running again. You just got to line up all the very few connections I have where there's rail joiners, line those up, and it's ready to rock and roll. So back to kind of the root of the question about why do I have two helixes on a layout that's basically a 20 by 6 or 7 foot layout, when many layouts have no helixes and are bigger than this. You read a lot about people and their hesitancy to use helixes because of operational issues, derailments inside of the helix, decoupling issues, just electrical issues, train stopping, things like that. And I understand that. I can certainly understand why somebody would not want to use a helix. We had a decoupling issue right there. And that actually comes from, I think it's the couplers on those. Look at that. That was that. Good trackling when your cars can run like that. But I have some couplers on those coal hoppers that are questionable. Like I said in the last video, I just want to replace them all. So like I was saying, the reason I enjoy the helixes is because of the added operational time for a train to run around the layout. Before I added the helix, it was roughly 1 minute of time for a train to go around, and I've doubled that with the helixes. It takes a train now a couple of minutes to run around the layout, and it just gives me that sense of railroading. That the train's not just running around in a loop. Adds some time where there is no train visible, and then the train comes around the curve, and there it is. Just kind of neat to me. There are a lot of people that don't like the aspect of just letting a train run around the loop. They want to have switching and all that, and I respect that. I get it. And I added my own industry into this just so I can have something to do, something going on. But in the end, the joy of model railroading to me is just seeing that train come around the curve. It's the surprise. It's the eventual scene that gets set up of the train passing through town. And then when you have running time, to me, it just gives you that sense of multiple trains going around. Where did the train go? When is it coming back? Some people enjoy the scenery and the weathering and the operations, and some people enjoy the mechanics. I enjoy it all, and in the end, I just enjoy watching the train go around. It's the kid in me still. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just wanted to address that issue because, two helixes on a small layout just adds a little bit of spice to the layout to me, gives them operational time. That's kind of what I was looking for. So, I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments on the helixes and if you use them, if you've ever used them, if you've regretted using them, or if you enjoy them. If anybody else has the same thoughts as me of having a smaller layout like this and just wanting to have some trains running and not passing through the same scene continuously. Just let me know your thoughts on that. And hopefully, in my further updates, I'll show you something new. All right, thanks.